G'day YouTube, bit of a different video today. I'm here with Racin Ray Souchet from Cycle Race Tech just near Fort Lauderdale, I guess we are, is Oakland Park. I've heard some cool things that Ray's been doing with challenges. He's a massive fan of Indians, and we'll talk a bit about that in a minute. But we just thought, it's not a full walkthrough of how to surface a bike or anything, but I came to get some of Ray's special mods today and get him to have a look at some of the things that he's picked up on challenges on my bike, and he's done a full 40,000 while I'm here. So let's check this out and see what Ray's been up to down here in South Florida. So here with Racin Ray Souchet, who has just spent the last day and a half on my Challenger. I heard about Ray through the Indian motorcycle riders group down here in Fort Lauderdale. He was described to me, and I'll say this stuff because this is not a paid endorsement by any stretch. The club speaks so highly of him. He's like the Indian whisperer. That he said they care more about their bikes than they do themselves when he services them. And Fort Lauderdale doesn't have a dealer anymore, so Ray's taken up an important spot here in the Indian community. Mm-hmm. Well, I've had a ball working with. Well, I won't say I've been working with him. Yeah, I've been in the shop for a day and a half. Yeah. And it's been a ball. Just listen. You could do an entire video, listen to Ray's stories, and his knowledge is just phenomenal. But we're going to share a little bit today. Couple of things that I think were really cool is the way Ray does the snorkel. Some people say pull it out, some people say leave it in. Ray's got a better solution. We won't go look too much at that, but we'll have a quick look. We'll talk about it. Also the type of oil Ray uses, we're going to jump into that. Mm-hmm. And I think and the way he sets up the bikes to make the synchronization of the throttle bodies a bit easier as well. So there's a couple of little hits and tips, and he's going to run through some other things on my bikes. Now, you started out in the auto industry originally.
In my teens, rebuilding Volkswagen engines.
That was it, right? Air-cooled Volkswagen engines, there you go. And then shifted across to motorcycles, working your way up from cleaning the floors. And
my first job was at a Kawasaki dealer, September of '76. Yep, sweeping floors, cleaning the bathrooms. And then the biggest thing I had to do was to disassemble the bikes because they came in wooden crates, so we had to break them down. They were highly disassembled.
Oh, you were saying, yeah.
So it was my main job, and then they made me service manager, which eventually I called myself the circus manager, and did that for a little while, and made it 10 months, and I asked to be promoted to mechanic.
Right.
So got into be an actual commission mechanic, and that was in about '78. Got out of the dealerships in 1982 and was blessed to go to work. It was called Algernon Machine. It was a complete motorcycle machine shop, just a phenomenal place to take the next step in my career. The owner, Lamont, was a custom fabricator guru. Taught me a lot, was a tremendous mentor. His welds were Picasso quality, and that's when I was able to take my KZ1000 and convert it into a full-fledged drag bike, and the last couple of years that I was active in drag racing, I set 13 national records on it.
Wow.
The last year, I went around the country with Texas, Ohio, New York, Maryland, Georgia, a bunch of races in Florida. Came in 4th place in my class at the ripe old age of 30. So it was a heck of a time.
Yeah.
I just learned so much being at Algernon, and but I guess somewhere in the back of my God's plan, let's say, I was to have my own shop. So I left Algernon, started Cycle Race Tech in December of 1990.
Right.
So my shop has just celebrated 35 years.
Congratulations.
September was 49 years working in the South Florida motorcycle industry. And so I'm one of those probably rare persons that has been fortunate enough to combine my love and my passion for bikes and earning a living. The things that I've seen and I've done, the wealth of knowledge that's up there in some quantity still is tremendous. And I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed, and I'm so honored to have been on this path. And my first Indian was Chieftain Dark Horse in 2016, and my nickname is FrankenRay. Okay, I can't leave anything alone, and so I got heavy duty into the Chieftain. Did a lot of research on cams and valve springs and all sorts of stuff. Did my own exhaust modifications, did my own intake modifications. I really got involved in the Indian community. And I'm on my second Indian, my Challenger, to 2020. I think in February I'll own it 5 years. I'm just shy of 62,000 miles on it. And yes, FrankenRay has had his hands all over that thing. And but I'm really blessed that I have wonderful people coming in my shop with their Indians. Because I'm just so happy to work on them, to service them, to be a part of their journey, and continue to learn. That's what life is about.
No, that's awesome. And I'll show some footage over the top of this of both Ray's Kawasaki drag bike, which is sitting up on a lift over there, and his Hayabusa, which is a pretty impressive machine, which has, you say you shaved 60 pounds?
Yeah, 60 pounds lighter.
And at one point it was run 190-something horsepower?
198 horsepower.
198 horsepower.
115 pounds of torque on a bike that weighs 505 pounds with a half a tank of fuel. So it was an awesome machine. 24 years ago I was able to ride it. Now I get on it. It's got a stock top end on it with 165 horsepower, but it's still an incredible machine.
Well, you definitely earned the name Racin Ray, and I think you're also Fearless Ray as well. But, so we'll show some footage as well of some of the things that Ray had done to his motorcycle. We got a bit of that filmed.
Okay.
And some of the things, so just to probably wrap up, I think one of the things I was going to ask you is, you said you'd love to fill your shop with Indians. Why Indians? Why do you love working on the new Indian so much?
I took a first test ride on the Chieftain. I went, oh. something about that bike. And my dad was a Harley guy, and he's gone. I'm sure he would be happy that I'm on an American bike, but I guess there's just something about Polaris brought a modern bike to market in 2013, 2014. And there's something special about it. The engines, the technology that they put in, the chassis technology and whatnot. They ain't perfect, but it's an incredible ride, and I'm glad to be a part of it and enjoy the quality of the bikes and the potentials that they have. They have a lot of potential, and I'm uncovering stuff that needs to be done and passing it on to my customers, and that's a privilege that I have with my experience in the past with flow bench work and machine work and whatnot. So I have an insight that probably 99% of the shops out there do not have. If I can remember 100% of what I've learned through the years, my head would explode. So,
I bet.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Well, First thing we're looking at today that Ray's a big advocate of is the neck bearing, and these are badly underspec'd, right?
Oh yeah, they're like on a scale of 0 to 10, they're about a 6 or a 7.
Right.
Yeah.
So common problem in challenges that Ray's found. Funny enough, he warned me as it's coming down, hey, we'll look at it. First thing we'll do, we'll put it up on the stand and we'll check the neck bearing. I noticed mine was having problems. It didn't click, and yesterday, you can see here actually.
Watch how it bounces into that. Dink.
Yeah. Yeah, this is because it's just not strong enough, basically.
Well, the lower bearing, which takes the brunt of riding, is the same size that the Japanese use on the 600, 750, and 1000 sport bikes.
Right.
That weigh 450 pounds at the most.
So we're double.
And this is double. They come from the factory over tightened. And what's in the service manual, if that's the same, and it probably is the same procedure that the factory uses, because when I did the steering head bearings on my Challenger, I did it old school. I turned it, adjusted, and just did it that way. But they can't do that at the factory.
Right.
So the engineers have a process where the bearings are torqued down, then they're backed off 60 degrees, and that's to make sure that bikes don't leave the factory with loose steering head bearings.
Gotcha.
But what it does is the bearings are over tight and they're just crushed together. And then with the weight of the bike and the impact of all the irregularities, just pounding that lower bearing. There's also not a lot of grease on these things because because we have airflow going through the frame, they had to separate the lower bearing from that volume of air. So there's a big rubber donut in there that's trapped between the lower bearing race and the frame, and it grips on the steering stem. But underneath there is not a lot. When I put steering head bearings in, I use a lot of grease, and there's hardly any grease on these bearings when they come apart. So it's a combination of, I don't know what the quality of the bearings are, but they're over torqued at the factory. And they're inadequately sized for a bike of this weight.
Yeah.
Yep. And wheelies.
Yeah. No wheelies here. Well, not intentional wheelies, but that front wheel.
Let's go ahead and
Yeah, it doesn't get vertical, but it's been up a couple of times. That's a good one for every Challenger owner to check out, because they are doing that now under warranty. So particularly if you're coming near the end of your warranty, check that out and get it done under warranty. I did have mine done about 20,000 under warranty, or 25,000. So I'm actually at 40 now.
I've been involved with the engine since 2016, and not steering head bearings became very popular with the Challenger. Now the factory procedure for the Thunderstrokes are not as brutal,
Right.
for putting the torquing the bearings down, but still on my Thunderstroke, on my Chieftain, I replaced the steering head bearings at 42,000 miles.
Okay.
I sold the bike at 88,000 miles, and they were perfect.
Yeah.
On through the years, and all my bikes are guinea pigs. That has seemed to be the best overall oil, and I've tried many.
So you'd recommend Klotz in any motorcycle as the best oil?
Yeah, because they meet all the manufacturer's recommendations, API, SM, and SN. And the most important, with engines like this that have a wet clutch, the Japanese came out with wet clutch compatibility specifications for the oil. And it's called JSO. The original was MA, then they went to MA1, and now they're MA2, and that designates the proper friction modifiers that are added to the oil to work with a wet clutch.
The next thing we're going to do...
A very strong magnet on the end. Let's see. So every time you do an oil change, there'll be some ferrous material, a paste on there.
Yeah.
And it uses a 12 millimeter hex rather than the Allen. So it's a very good addition.
So first of all, we're going to pick up any bits of metal, obviously. Magnetic drain plug's always a smart thing to do. And then next, we've got a hex head on there, which is easy to get a hold of rather than threading that Allen, which I know a few people have threaded out. So that's the next thing going on. This next one I'm a little nervous about because we're going to remove the fuel tank, look at the air filter, and I'm running a K&N air filter, same as the S&S. Ray was telling me that you get a little tube of grease with both those filters because they're very hard versus the Indian standard one soft. So it molds around the frame, the way it's not smooth on the frame. So the Indian one molds around, the S&S and the K&N don't. They're very solid, so you've got to put that grease on to stop air getting around the outside of the filter and into the engine. So we're just draining my tank now, and we're going to see, is that grease on there and have we had any debris going into the engine? A bit nervous about this part.
Okay, so let's see what we have. Nope, I don't see any grease.
No.
See, the filter's doing its job.
You got plenty of wasps in there.
Yeah, occasionally I find a small child and a puppy dog in there, you know.
Any gold or silver?
It actually, as you slide it back in, it's pushing the filter down against the sealing surface.
Right.
So if you look at the, it's a copy, but feel that. And that's just hard rubber.
Yeah, it's got this little lip, but
yeah,
not as soft. Gotcha.
Let me take a look and see what we have inside.
Tell me there's not too much dirt, because I know you can't see a ton in there actually, but it's I want to run this motor to 100,000. What we're going to do now is just check behind the side air filter, just see if there's any dirt behind that. It's a good indication.
This is not bad.
It's pretty clean actually, yeah.
That thing that's sitting over there by the fire extinguisher covered, that's called the flow bench.
Right.
And it's used for measuring airflow, which whatever I can put on there, it can pull air in or it can blow air out. And I flowed the stock filter, which I don't remember how many miles it had on it, and it flowed 114 CFM. I blew it out, put it back on the flow bench, picked up a 2 CFM, it flowed 116 CFM, and then I put the K&N on and it flowed 153 CFM.
Wow.
Yep. Big
difference, big improvement
in airflow.
And you're an advocate of the S&S side filter too, because it pops the filter out a little bit further, because you've done some things to your motorcycle, right?
Well, it started off with the Indian, stage 1. I used to be a dyno owner for 25 years, but when I moved up here to Oakland Park, I parted ways with the dyno, which I still kick myself in the ass. And, so anytime you can get more air in the engine, it's going to make more horsepower. And so I got to stage 1. And funny thing is, with my Chieftain, using DynoJet software, I was able to manipulate the ride-by-wire settings, the air-cooled engines with a single ride-by-wire setting, not the 3 stages like they started doing. Were very, very lazy. So I knew how to go in and change the numbers and go, whoa, that's nice, Install the stage 1 on a dyno. It probably would make 2 horsepower more.
Right.
Okay, but out on the road, it's not going to make anything because the original unit is so far set into between the V's of the V of the cylinders that it's a dead air area. It's not going to get any air going down the road.
It's not pulling the air in at all.
And so this one has been extended out with spacers with a longer hose. I took the filter that was in there, cut it out, grafted a new high flow filter in there, and also put that hood. So if you go to the front, you'll look at it. It's just a very good intake system. I have what are called vacuum sticks, and it's stainless steel rods that get pulled up by the vacuum, and if they're uneven, then the synchronization brings them even with each other. So I have a pill that it's a solid pill that these get joined, and then at any time in the future, it's so easy to synchronize the throttle bodies.
So this is just to sync the throttle bodies, and it's really because the one on the forward cylinder is hard to get to.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
why,
I mean,
that's why you're setting up this way.
To take the rubber plug off, what do I have in here? Because they have, rubber plugs. So to get in there and take the rubber plug off, and then connect a vacuum hose for the carb sticks, and then take it all off and put the rubber plug back on. And
super painful.
I said, no, I can fix this.
There we go. Another little Ray mod.
Make things better.
So one thing Ray does, and this is a little bit of secret sauce and something that you're probably going to have to be in the Fort Lauderdale area and get your bike looked after by Ray to get a hold of. But he's done a lot of work, like I mentioned, around airflow before with the snorkel that goes in the front of the bike. And I know I read a ton of stuff where some people are like, you got to pull it out. Other people are like, you got to leave it in for the dirt. Ray actually shaves the snorkel down to give it the maximum airflow with a bunch of tests he's done. So he does an exchange program if you're here in Fort Lauderdale, or if you know which forum Ray's on, and you can get one that way. But we're going to pull this snorkel out, and we're going to get one of Ray's secret sauce snorkels put in here. They're a pain in the ass to get out, aren't they?
Yeah.
Was this just like playing around? You just looked at the velocity of the air coming through to work out what to do?
It's a combination of airflow and velocity.
Right.
Because the guys that are taking this out, the air goes into the frame and it just goes poof. There's no velocity. There's no guidance of the air. Aerodynamically, it's stupid.
Yeah.
Come on.
I spoke to a guy in the factory that works in Polaris that does the engines, and he said the only reason they put the snorkel in there was to reduce the noise.
Oh yeah, this is intake noise.
Yeah.
Because when they're trying to meet sound regulations, decibel meter is listening to noise. It doesn't know if it's exhaust noise or engine clatter or intake noise. So that's why they call this a diffuser.
Right.
Okay.
There we go.
All right.
Yeah, so I'm going to try out Ray's one, which will be interesting because he's put a bit of thought into this.
Doing my own fuel injection tuning. You can see on the exhaust pipes, those are wideband sensors, which allows me to read actual air-fuel ratio. And what's up on the left handlebar is a DynoJet Envision, which allows me to monitor the air-fuel ratio. I can produce logs where I can download it into the computer and look at it, and using a power commander, which is a rough, archaic kind of a tuner, but I've been able to make sure that at wide open throttle I got the proper air fuel mixture.
Right.
And I've been working with the rest of the range, and depending on how fast I go and depending on if I'm going into the wind or whatever, I can see 45 miles to the gallon. Which is pretty good because these things are not aerodynamic at all. That thing will get 42 miles to the gallon, the Hayabusa, no matter how fast I go, because it's aerodynamic, but not these things. So it's been a process of learning and building my own fuel map on top of a DynoJet flash that's in the ECU.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. So the verdict, I've ridden the bike a few hundred miles since picking up from Ray, and look, it's never ridden any better, to be honest. Would have been really interesting to see how much of that was the new oil, the different oil, how much of that is the air filter being clean, how much of that is the new snorkel. I really don't know. The synchronization of the throttle body certainly helps it idle a lot better, as Ray sort of described. I think angry was the word that it might have been before. So it's a lot smoother on idle now, but it just feels like there's more power, there's more torque, it's running a lot smoother, it's running cooler. So those things coming together did a really good job. I got to get my neck bearing done, so that'll be on the list to do. And when we put the air filter back in, we made sure there's plenty of grease around there. It looks like it didn't get too much debris in, but Ray's seen a couple of engines where a lot of debris come in. So if you do have an S&S or K&N filter and you didn't put it in yourself, you might just want to check the grease has been applied to the filter. I had already ordered the S&S side stage 1 filter, I guess you could call it. So that will go on the bike shortly as well. And so I'll maximize airflow coming in with the clean air filter, the S&S side filter, and obviously Ray's snorkel on there. So hopefully getting the best I can out of those pieces. But man, what a cool dude Ray is. He really does care for your motorcycle, probably more than we do, as I was told. He's just a pleasure to be around and hear his stories, and the way he explains things to you just makes sense. He goes into much more detail as some of the video that you'll get from any other sort of shop around. So look, if you're in the Fort Lauderdale area, if you're on the forums and you see Ray Souchet come up, you know, get involved, tap into his knowledge. He loves sharing it. He loves supporting the community. So yeah, I definitely recommend a visit to Ray if you're in that area, or if you live in that area. Get your motorcycle, any sort of motorcycle, to him. But obviously, particularly if it's an Indian, that's his passion right now. So a huge thank you to Ray for taking the time to go for my motorcycle, making it run the best it's run since I've had it, for sure. But also, just to give me his time, let me do this video. As I mentioned, I paid full retail rates. I just asked him, can I film this as we go? Because I think people might find it interesting. So hopefully you did. If you did, please, give it a like, put comments down below. I'll try and answer them or get answers from Ray if we've got any in there. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, you'd like this sort of content, give us a subscribe. And I'll leave you now. Just a little bit more on Ray's Busa. If you're interested in his Hayabusa and that was interesting to you, I'll give you a little bit more of an extended interview now and zone out with that. But thank you very much for watching. Thank you, Ray, for looking after my motorcycle and tuning it up. Keep it 2 wheels down.
This is my bad boy.
Wow.
I've owned it since May of 2000. I'm the original owner. Got carbon fiber wheels on it, and pretty much all the bolts on the bike are either titanium or aircraft aluminum. It's 60 pounds lighter than a stock Hayabusa. Those mirrors are my own design. And so back in 2001, a lot of the stuff on, if you look at the handlebar assembly, all that's here, carbon fiber handlebars, but all of that stuff has been machined here at the shop. Foot peg brackets are machined, and this has got exhaust system that came out in 2001. I went into the engine, did some work to the engine. The first one made 188 at the rear wheel. This is back when I had a DynoJet dyno, and that wasn't enough. So I went back into the engine, did some more head work, did a different set of cams, and at that point it made 198 at the rear wheel and 115 pounds of torque.
Wow.
And it was an animal. It was an animal.
Wow.
And The problem is when you go to the big bore stuff, there was only one company in the United States that was doing the electroplating of the cylinders, called using Nicosil, and whatever honing technique they were using back then was very hard on the piston rings. And the second ring, which is either a cast iron or nodular iron ring, it's an oil scraper ring, and it would get wiped out 30,000 miles. It would start drinking oil. And so I went through 2 rebuilds, and finally I said, that's enough. So all the high performance stuff got sold. It's got a stock top end on it now. It's got a good bottom end, polished gears on the transmission, fully undercut. I do all that stuff here. And so right now it's 165 at the rear wheel. But after riding this, and I get on this, it makes that feel like a Honda 250.